Yo, what is going on, everybody? I'm back. Uh, it's been a while, and I'd like to say that I'm starting a new series. Today, we are going to be starting the beginning of our Star Wars canon review series, where I'm going to go through everything in the Star Wars canon, whether it be a movie, novel, show, game, anything like that, comic. I will be reviewing it and kind of placing it in a bunch of different categories. That way, we can get one concise rating for Star Wars as a whole. It's going to be a really, really interesting project. And we will be going through everything, but don't worry, I will make a whole playlist so that way you can follow along. Today we are here with the first canonical entry in Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope. And I'm gonna review it, I'm gonna talk about it, and hopefully this is gonna be a whole lot of fun. I am excited. I hope you guys are as well. So first off, I want to say I've watched this movie a billion times. Like, probably literally a billion times. But the movie still brilliantly holds up, despite being made 47 years ago, which is insane when you think about it. I mean, the fact that 77 is 47 years ago is just remarkable. The CGI is brilliant. There's not much else I can really say. Like, the CGI was incredible for the time, and it still doesn't look that bad today. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be passable today, but there's nothing wrong with the CGI for sure. I mean, like even from today's standards, like I feel like most people would look at it and they wouldn't really be too thrown off by it. The dialogue is a little reminiscent of the typical George Lucas bad dialogue trope. But it's good enough to deliver numerous iconic lines. And it's really just like for this movie, it's very passable. As we get further on, it'll become less passable. But right now, I'm okay with the kind of cheesy dialogue at times. So many things have been done for the first time. The sets and the technology of which George Lucas was experimenting with, all of that was very unprecedented. There was a lot of like practical effects that they used that honestly like had been used for the very first time. A lot of clay work. They did a lot of claymation. Um, we can talk about the costume design for a second. Even if you look kind of in the background, one character could be wearing this completely elaborate costume that has a million different storylines to it. And that's kind of what makes this movie so great, is that it laid the seeds for everything else to come kind of into place. And it does such a great job at being able to pick up these storylines later in books and comics and games. Uh and even a small side character can have such a big impact on the universe as a whole. It's brilliant, and honestly, at times, it's kind of insane to even think about the fact that like he really thought in his head like this one character is gonna have this crazy getup. He's gonna be in this shot that you can't even see him in really, and somehow, some way, he's gonna get like a whole story assigned to him that we're gonna make up later down the road. It's incredible to me. The editing is also amazing. It perfectly cuts in and out of storylines. There's obviously in most movies there's an A plot and a B plot. So the main plot, of course, is that um, Princess Leia, who is a technically she is a princess, she's royalty, but she also is a diplomat for the Imperial Senate, but is secretly a rebel spy, I guess. A rebel defector, we'll say. So Darth Vader, a Sith Lord, a Dark Knight of sorts, but not like Batman, like a evil person, kidnaps her and tries to execute her basically. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker, uh, a farm boy from a desert planet called Tatooine, has to work with a Jedi Master who is basically a space wizard with a lightsaber that harnesses this power called the Force. Um, they go from Tatooine to Alderaan, where they assume Princess Leia is. Um, or they don't assume that they're going to Alderaan because R2D2, a droid companion that was on the same ship Princess Leia was in, has the plans for this ultimate super weapon called the Death Star that is going to basically destroy the entire galaxy, or at least subjugate everything. So obviously they don't like that and they want to blow it up, so they get the plans to kind of have that happen. So they try to go to Alderaan, which is Princess Leia's home planet. Then it gets blown up by the Death Star, so they can't go to Alderaan. So they end up on the Death Star. They rescue the princess. Meanwhile, of course, they had to figure out a way to get off the planet Tatooine. That's where Han Solo and Chewbacca come in, and they pilot this ship called the Millennium Falcon to give Obi-Wan and Luke safe passage. They end up on the Death Star. Then they all end up entangled in the Rebel Alliance's scheme to take out the Death Star, with Luke Skywalker basically hitting the final blow to destroy the super weapon. I apologize if I've spoiled Star Wars for you. Unfortunately, this movie came out 47 years ago, so you're not going to get a spoiler warning. I will spoiler tag um, things that have recently been released, but this won't be for some time. So, you know. I should mention too, I talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Alec Guinness does a spectacular job as Obi-Wan. It's kind of insane to think about because he really didn't love filming this movie. I think he was okay with it, but he did definitely think it was kind of stupid. And the fact that he still had did such a great job with it is he was nominated for supporting actor, I believe, by the Academy. So, and I agree, he did an amazing job as Obi-Wan. Uh, he was the first character to really bring. He was the first actor to really bring that character to life. Um, I know a lot of people give Ewan McGregor a lot of credit too, and I think he deserves it. But for sure, none of this could have happened without Alec Guinness portraying him brilliantly first. As for the editing, going right back to it for a second, it's kind of just that intercutting between Luke's adventures on Tatooine and then eventually going to the Death Star, and then kind of what the Empire is doing, or even what Leia's up to. Again, it's a great way of like it's constantly there's constantly action happening, and the pacing is short. It works so well for what I think Lucas was trying to go for, which was a very fast movie, and it helps with rewatchability because you're all the time you're being like, oh, this is great, this is great, and then all of a sudden you miss something because you're so caught up in the main plot. But you rewatch it, you notice something you never noticed before. I want to also point out that Sound in Space was a clever idea to make this galaxy feel far different from our own. And the sound of the TIE fighters, these vehicles that the Empire stormtroopers use, the Imperial stormtroopers use to pilot uh, against the Rebel Alliance's X-Wings, which are their form of spacecraft. They sound so great. They make this like really weird noise, and it's menacing, but it's also kind of wimpy at the same time. And it perfectly encapsulates what a stormtrooper is like. Like they're really easy to defeat, but they're also kind of intimidating if you don't have a weapon. Like I said, the plot is easy to follow, and Lucas took inspiration from numerous different sources, like Seven Samurai, which is a movie that came out in the 50s. Um, and it's probably George Lucas's best Star Wars film that he directed. We'll talk about this when we get to the prequels. Maybe my opinion on them will change. For now, I can probably safely say this is his best Star Wars movie. We'll see, of course, when I keep going. But overall, this movie is an instant classic, and now it just is a classic because it's old. I will give it a 9.8 out of 10, which will be an A plus. We're also going to be doing era ratings. There are, I believe, 9 eras of Star Wars. I could be wrong. It's close to that. This movie takes place in the era Age of Rebellion, which basically defines is defined as like the Rebel Alliance kind of striking back against the Galactic Empire, which means that right now that era has a 9.8, and I'll probably rate the eras as well in like a tier list or something, and I'll do maybe all the main Star Wars movies in a tier list when we're all finished. But for now, that's kind of where I have that placed. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. And I'll try to do this daily because I feel like that's the only way I'm gonna actually be able to finish it. So yeah, the goal we don't have a goal. I would love to say we could finish before the next Star Wars movie. I highly doubt it. Um, the goal is to have fun. Peace.